Hey, Andy, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful that we get to interview you. I would love if you could introduce yourself.
Oh, hi, Courtney. Yes, thanks for this opportunity today. I've been really enjoying your other podcast I've listened to before. So, yes, my name is Andy N. I live over the Manchester side of the United Kingdom, which, if you don't know where that is, it's up on the northwest corner. So, I've been writing blimey since I was a child. I'm now 52. I've done loads of poetry books. I've done my first novel, which came out last year, called Birth, and the second novel's about to be published as well. And also an ambient musician under the name of Ocean in the Buckle. Bought out my band, Polyocean's debut album out a couple of months ago. And I'm also a podcast host myself. My name is Spoken Label. A busy man.
Love it. I would love if you could tell us what your books are about.
Sure. I started off writing as a poet, really, like I said before to you. I bought up my first poetry book when I was 40. I've done 10 of them somehow, and did 10 of them in about 13 years. And the last two, which the rest of them are in the past, really. But the last two was one called From the Diabetic Ward, Volume 1, which was my struggle with diabetes. I was registered with diabetes when I was 39. And the poetry book has come after that is called Changing Carriages at Birmingham New Street, which is a travelogue of poems up and down the United Kingdom, told through the eyes of a couple that has cheated on their partners. And my novel, which I presume we'll talk more today, is about the birth of a creative person.
Amazing. What inspired you to write your book?
The novel itself has been dangling around one way or another for some years now. And a bit like when your last guest I was listening to before, obviously, like your last guest, my laptop's frozen out, Lucy Black. I know Lucy said before, her novel took her 6 years to write and went through 14 drafts. This one, Birth, is been going 12 years and it's gone through 24 drafts. Right? So but I wanted the book at a time, and this is what's called the problems it really was. It's set in an area I know all too well in South Manchester called Chorlton. And that's a very, very creative area of Manchester. And I wanted to place some completely fictional characters in an area I knew really, really well and talk about how a person give birth to their creativity. And it was getting the voice right. It just took some time.
Amazing. When you were writing your book, who were you thinking of when it comes to who your book is for?
Oh, well, mine was really, it was me really, because all writing has got to be for yourself anyway. What I wanted the book to talk about how at a certain age in your life, when you first become a creative person, like well, I was, where I became later on, like I was 39, it exploded. And when it explodes, it really hits you. And it's like there's a burst of, you're just trying to do everything, and your writing's coming out faster and faster, and your life just like that just changes. So I wanted to show, first of all, to be in the teen market, show people how creativity can take over your life, and an older person as well. So I wanted everybody to see. It's based on a story of life, basically. I think everybody can relate to.
Amazing. How long have you been writing and what made you really sit down and start?
Well, I started when I was 10. What do you believe? I'm not 11 or 12 now. You might have guessed that, Courtney. But the first couple of poems came up when I was in primary school. So, and the second one was the second poem. The first poem won a competition in school. The second one got me 2 weeks detention, would you believe? Because we ended up going on a trip to a zoo, and I didn't like the teacher a lot, so we got asked to write a poem about the zoo trip. And mine, unfortunately, the teacher didn't like because I wrote about a lion, should we say, pursuing the teacher, right? So didn't go down very well. But yeah, fast forward to 28. I went to university, started learning how to write properly. 10 years after that, I bought my first book out, and by that point, I knew the way my life was going, and I always wanted to be a writer. It's just a case of finding the voice for it. So it just took a long, longer than probably expected, really.
Amazing. What is your schedule like when you are writing a book?
Oh, I'm be honest with you, I'm a bit odd because I'm used to writing something or another anyway. Because as I said before to you, I do my own podcast, and that usually takes one day a week anyway. And I've got a band at the moment who's just bought their album out a couple of months ago, and that usually takes 1 or 2 nights a week. But I'm usually thinking all the time about the next book. I tend to be that sort of person when the schedule will be is if I'm not writing the book, I'm thinking it. And then like if I'm not writing it, I'm thinking about the next book. And it seems to be about like a recurring train pattern. Or you go from station, almost like a train station, is when you finish the book, then go straight to the next station and the next book's comes together already. So it's an ongoing process for me.
Love that. What do you need in your writing space to help you stay focused?
Usually because my wife's actually a novelist as well, so and she's done 6 novels and about 5 poetry books herself, and she also has her own podcast as well, which I on with me. So it's like a lot of it is because we're a married couple and we wrote some things together. We're always bouncing off each other, and that gives us the focus on it really. Because Amanda, my wife, she's on her 30s. Well, as of recording, she's halfway through her next novel, and she knows about what my second novel, which is nearly completed. So it's like we're talking about it all the time, and that's the focus really, because we're encouraging each other all the time. And I think if you're by yourself, it's much harder because sometimes you can be second guessing yourself. But because we both know each other's work fairly well, but Amanda will turn around and say to me, "No, don't do that. That you're going to lose half your audience if you kill off your major character on the first page," which is what I did. But anyway, story another day. And in Amanda's case, I've turned around and said to her already, "Why have you brought a character into your next novel at the top? It's quite blatantly a Jack Reacher rip-off." So it is what it is.
What is your favorite writing snack and drink?
Oh, I do love a good can. Right in front of me, actually. I do love a can of sugar-free Red Bull, just for wings, right? And food. Ooh, no, I'm diabetic, so I have to be careful what I say here. It should be low sugar biscuits, but do you want the reality? It's cookies.
Love it. What type of books do you personally enjoy reading?
Oh, oh. Well, I do like reading a lot of poetry, and I really do. My favourite novelist is the American author Paul Auster, who died sadly earlier on this year, actually. And he's most famous for doing the New York trilogy. I love his work because, like mine, he never stood still with his works. He's done an absolute load of non-fiction, load of poetry, screenplays, plays, art, a lot of journalism, which I'm massively getting into at the moment, and poetry as well. So he's my favourite author. But I do love reading a lot of books of currently reading. So you know, the current book is a book called The Making of the British Landscape, which is a lot of like history and storyscape, and I'm very, very interested in history. That's why, as well as fiction, on top of it, and poetry.
Love that. Are there any books or authors that inspired you to become a writer?
Poetry wise, it's a guy called Hugo Williams. He bought a very, very good book out 25 years ago now called Billy's Rain, which was certainly the inspiration for Changing Landscapes at Birmingham New Street. That book, I found out 10 years after I got it. I thought it was just about an imaginary affair a couple were having, like my book is. I found out that book was truth, where he was actually cheating on his wife. And what I could understand his wife when he found out about it after the book came out. So that's my big influence on poetry. Paul Auster, like I said before, he's a novelist. He is my god.
What books did you grow up reading? Did you have an all-time favorite?
Oh, 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 good grief. That's an hard one. That was I'm 50, maybe 52, trying to remember what I was reading was a telling of a board game. I grew up reading a lot of sci-fi, really, don't you? A lot of very comic book sci-fi. Used to love stuff like Harry Harrison's Stainless Steel Rat series, and that's just absolute tremendous fun. That is, it's dated now, but it's good fun. Also read a lot of what Stephen King's The Dark Tower series when I was young as well. And I did like, bizarrely enough, I liked reading Margaret Atwood's books at the time as well, in the late 80s, early 90s as well. I presume you've seen The Handmaid's Tale, haven't you? TV series?
I haven't watched the TV series. I've heard of it though.
What the book's better. The book's better.
Okay.
I do really love Cat's Eye as well, which came after that. So said I've always been a reader. It's like I'm just trying to think of things 40 years ago. Oh God. Anyway,
Love it. On the other side of that, now as an adult, what are your favorite series or authors that if they come out with something, you automatically grab it?
what's his name? The Orphan. I do love Greg Hutz's series, which is called the Orphan Black series. That's based about hired killer who turns against the government and goes around helping people. And I love that series. That one. It's usually out about every February, and I've usually got it set on Amazon. Oh, sorry, shouldn't say product, should I? Okay, a certain famous delivery firm to deliver it to me the day it arrives. So, and my wife doesn't see much of me for a day or two after that. Usually, I'm reading that book all the time, and I do love that. So I love. There's lots of bits and pieces to it, and I've used it. I do like. I love reading graphical novels. When Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips get big plugs off me because every time they bring out a hardback graphical novel, I've usually got that ready with me as quick as I can as well. So there's bits and pieces, and it's you know what I mean. It's like you never seem to get time when I get older. Seem to read. Seem like you want to concentrate on my own writing as much. I wish I had time to read more.
Amazing. What would you tell someone just starting out with reading again?
Reading. Oh, right. Yeah. Well, I'm mentoring at the moment. I do some mentoring outside my own writing. And I'm mentoring a couple of young ladies at the moment. And I'm going to name them all because I'm like that. Right. Hi, Charlotte. Hi, Emily. Hi, Effie. And hi, Courtney. Right. That's the four of them. I'll embarrass the four of them. I've told them all the same as I tell everybody else. I don't believe it's a bad thing if you're reading, finding you're actually reading sometimes. I think the quality of the work sometimes can be better than others. But I'm always do believe try out other things all the time. That's why I said this book I've gone on to before, The Making of the British Landscape. I've only just realised it's 600 pages, so that's going to take quite some time to read. But again, it's good sometimes you read shorter books as well. Because I don't know if I could actually write a 600-page novel. To be honest with you, but again, banning your reading, supporting your local library, or even supporting local authors. I'm in favour of it to encourage you to read, and if it inspires you, even better.
Love that. On the other side of that, what would you tell someone just starting to write their own book?
Don't give up. Don't give up at the moment because I've had that recently, and I'm not saying who with, it's unfair, but they've had some confidence knocks, and I think the danger is sometimes when you get to know other writers, and because the way the world is nowadays, and particularly if you're on the poetry circuit where there's been massive Zoom audiences, you can get known to people all the time. And if you meet somebody that suddenly gets a book out with a couple months of you meeting them, and you think to yourselves, like, you start getting the imposter syndrome, and you can easily, your confidence can take a knock, and don't, because everybody's work comes at different paces. And a lot of it is just trying to find your voice and not giving up. Because I think if you keep at it, and this took me a long time to realize this, you may not end up being the next Stephen King, but you can have great fun doing your writing and having adventures. And that's what I've had, 15 years of solid base of writing professionally. I've had great fun with it. And I'm going to carry on having great fun with it because it's led me down all kinds of paths I wouldn't have believed 15 years ago.
Love that. What's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
Depends. It's awkward on this because I've had when I worked at a day job for 10.5 years, and it was great fun when new boys come along and they say, "Oh, what do you do the weekend, Andy?" I said, "Oh, have you seen this new TV series on BBC One?" I turn around and say to them, "Not TV." Most of my weekend is usually writing or being creative for some kind or another, and I say with Amanda as well. And that's why it catches people out because they expect you to follow the pattern everybody else does in life, and when you don't, that's when the fun starts. Because they came up with company I was at for 10.5 years. They had a massive quiz going once they did, and my name actually came into one of the questions. They were saying like, true or false? We have a staff member that has wrote at the time 8 poetry books and 1 novel, and it was like And people were looking at me after, have you done that many? I didn't even know you're into that. And that's why it's, you know what I mean? It's great fun because you catch people out. So,
Love that. Is there anything you would like to say or add?
I've pretty much covered everything really, but I'm always do look, like I said to you, keep writing, everybody. Keep writing. It's, you may not get the what you want off your life, but certainly like when I started, I never envisaged I'd have 10 poetry books done, completed. I wrote a lot of various writer projects with my wife and a few other friends. I would have never envisaged this led me to being in the top, at least 2 touring bands, and I've got an album out and current band, and we're planning gigs for that. I would have never have dreamed I'd end up co-running a spoken word open mic night, which has been very, very successful. And I'd never dreamed of doing my own podcast, which is very similar to yours, Courtney, here it is, and they've been running for 9 years now.
Amazing. Where's the best place for readers to find your book? I know some readers love signed copies. Is that an option and the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can always track me down easy enough. Yeah, all of the links are actually on a Linktree page, which obviously is linktr.ee/Andy N Artist. I'm on Facebook, straight as Andy N. You can also find me on, also of course, on Instagram as Andy N Poet. I'm also on Twitter. I can't remember what the Twitter handle is now. That's so it's always one you forget, honestly. But Twitter one is Andy N Writer, and all the books are on Amazon. Easy to find me. If you type in something like Andy N Birth or Andy N the End of Summer, for example, it brings them all up on the set pages there. Podcast Spoken Label is available on all of the usual networks. And my music under Cool, which is my ambient drone band, and Polyocean can both be found on Bandcamp quite easily enough.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful that we got to interview you. We'll be sure to drop those links in the show notes. That way everyone can find you. And again, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, Colin. Thank you. I've really enjoyed today.
Thank you.